This is the story of Cleopatra. She was the last queen of Egypt. She was clever, she was powerful, and she was very, very dangerous. Her life was full of love, gold, war, and blood. So sit back, listen slowly, and learn English with the dark story of Cleopatra. Cleopatra was born more than 2,000 years ago. She was born in Egypt, in a great city by the sea. The city was called Alexandria. It was one of the richest cities in the whole world. It had a giant library. It had a tall lighthouse. And it had gold. A lot of gold. But Cleopatra's family was not a kind family. Her family came from Greece, and they had ruled Egypt for almost 300 years. They were rich, they were powerful, and they were cruel. In her family, brothers and sisters did not love each other. They fought each other. Many of them killed each other to take the throne. For Cleopatra's family, murder was normal. Murder was just a tool to get power. So Cleopatra grew up in a dangerous home. She watched, she learned. She saw how quickly a friend could become an enemy. She saw how quickly a queen could lose her head. And she learned one hard lesson very early. In this family, you win or you die. There was nothing in the middle. But Cleopatra was special. She was very intelligent. While others only learned to fight, she learned to think. She loved books. She loved ideas. People said she could speak many languages. She was the first ruler in her family, in 300 years, who actually learned to speak Egyptian, the language of her own people. The people of Egypt noticed this. They began to love her. When Cleopatra's father died, everything changed. The old king left his throne to two children. He left it to Cleopatra, and he left it to her younger brother. By the rules of the family, Cleopatra and her brother had to rule together. And by the cruel rules of the family, they were also supposed to marry each other. Cleopatra was about 18 years old. Her brother was only 10. At first, Cleopatra ruled. She was older, she was smarter, and she took the power. But her little brother was not alone. He had powerful men around him. These men were advisors, and they were hungry for control. They did not want a strong, clever queen. They wanted a weak little boy they could command. So they made a plan against Cleopatra. The plan worked. The advisors pushed Cleopatra out. They took her power. They forced her to run away from her own city, away from Alexandria. Suddenly, the Queen of Egypt had no throne, no palace, and no army. She had lost everything. Many people thought her story was over, but they were wrong. Cleopatra was patient, and she was already making a new plan. While Cleopatra was in exile, a giant shadow was moving toward Egypt. That shadow was Rome. Rome was the most powerful force in the world. Its armies were everywhere. And at this time, Rome had a terrible problem of its own. Two great Roman generals were fighting each other for control of everything. One of these generals was named Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar chased his enemy all the way to Egypt. And so the most powerful man in the world arrived in Alexandria, in Cleopatra's city. Cleopatra understood something at once. This man, this Caesar, could give her back her throne. If she could win him to her side, she could win everything. But there was a problem. Her brother's men controlled the palace, and they were watching every road. If they saw her, they would kill her. So Cleopatra did something bold, something the world never forgot. She had her servants wrap her up and carry her secretly into the palace, hidden, rolled inside a large cloth or carpet. The guards did not see her. They carried the bundle straight to Julius Caesar. And there, in front of the most powerful man in the world, the bundle opened, and out came the Queen of Egypt. Caesar had never seen anything like it. He was amazed by her courage. He was amazed by her mind. That same night, Cleopatra had her most powerful ally. With Caesar's army behind her, everything turned around. There was a short, hard war in the city. Cleopatra's enemies were defeated. Her young brother, who had fought against her, died in the fighting. And Cleopatra was queen again. But now she was something more. She was the queen of Egypt, and she had the friendship and the love of the master of Rome. Soon she gave birth to a son. Many believed the boy was the son of Julius Caesar himself. For a short time, life was golden. Cleopatra even traveled to Rome, the heart of the world. She lived there as Caesar's guest. People stared at the exotic queen from Egypt. Some admired her. Many hated her. They feared her power over their great leader. They whispered that Caesar wanted to become a king, and that this foreign queen was changing him. In Rome, that fear was very dangerous. Then came the blood. On a single day in Rome, a group of men surrounded Julius Caesar. They were senators, men of power, men who feared him. They pulled out hidden knives, and they killed him, right there, in front of everyone. The most powerful man in the world was dead in a moment. And far away in the palace, Cleopatra suddenly understood her danger. Her great protector was gone. She was a foreign queen, alone again, in a world full of enemies. So she took her son, and she sailed home to Egypt to wait and to watch. Rome now fell into chaos. The men who killed Caesar fought the men who loved Caesar. After much war, the power of Rome was split between two strong men. One of them stayed in Rome. He was young, cold, and very clever. His name was Octavian. The other man took control of the East, the lands near Egypt. He was a famous soldier, loud, brave, and charming. His name was Mark Antony, and Mark Antony wanted to meet the Queen of Egypt. Cleopatra knew this meeting could decide her future, so she did not arrive quietly. She arrived like a goddess. She came to Mark Antony on a beautiful ship with golden decorations and purple sails. There was music. There was perfume in the air. She looked like a queen from a dream. Mark Antony was a powerful man, but in that moment, he was hers. He fell completely in love with Cleopatra, and she with him. And so began one of the most famous love stories in all of history. For years, Cleopatra and Mark Antony were together. They had children, they shared power, they shared gold. They threw great parties and made great plans. Egypt was rich, and with Antony's Roman armies, they dreamed of ruling the whole East together. For a while, it seemed they could not be stopped. But far away, in cold and quiet Rome, the young Octavian was watching everything. And he was angry. Octavian was clever, and he knew how to fight with words before he fought with swords. He told the people of Rome a story. He said that Mark Antony had forgotten Rome. He said that Antony had become a slave to a foreign queen. He said that Cleopatra was dangerous, that she wanted to rule Rome itself. Slowly, the people of Rome began to hate Cleopatra. And slowly, Octavian turned all of Rome against the lovers in Egypt. Then he declared war. The two sides finally met in a giant sea battle. Hundreds of ships came together on the water. On one side were Mark Antony and Cleopatra. On the other side was Octavian and the full power of Rome. It was a long and terrible day. And in the middle of the battle, something went wrong. Antony's ships began to lose. When Cleopatra saw the danger, she turned her ships and sailed away, back toward Egypt. And Mark Antony, seeing his love leave, followed her. They escaped, but they had lost the great battle, and soon they would lose the war. Now the end came quickly, and it came in darkness. Octavian and his army marched toward Egypt. Antony tried to fight, but his soldiers were leaving him. His power was melting away. In the middle of the fear and the chaos, a false message reached Mark Antony. The message said that Cleopatra was already dead, Antony's heart broke. He did not want to live in a world without her. So the great Roman soldier took his own sword, and he ended his own life. But the message was a lie. Cleopatra was still alive, and when they brought the dying Antony to her, she held him one last time. Now, Cleopatra was truly alone. Octavian had won. He controlled Egypt. He controlled her city. And he wanted to take Cleopatra back to Rome, not as a queen, but as a prisoner. He wanted to show her in the streets, in chains, to prove his great victory to the people. Cleopatra would never allow that. She was a queen. She had been born a queen, and she would die a queen, free, in her own land. So she prepared for her final act. She dressed herself in her royal clothes. She put on her crown. And then, the story says, she chose death by the bite of a snake, a poison that would take her quietly. When the guards came, they were too late. The last queen of Egypt was gone, on her own terms, by her own choice. With the death of Cleopatra, something enormous ended. For thousands of years, Egypt had been ruled by its own kings and queens. Now that was finished forever. Egypt became just another piece of the Roman Empire. The young, cold Octavian became the first emperor of Rome, and Cleopatra became something even bigger than a queen. She became a legend, a story told again and again for 2,000 years, all the way to you, right now. So, what do we learn from the dark story of Cleopatra? We see a woman who was not born good or evil. She was born into danger, and she became brilliant, brave, and ruthless because her world demanded it. She used her mind as a weapon. She loved with all her power, and she lost with all her power. And in the end, when she had nothing left, she still chose to die free. Thank you for listening and for learning English with me today. I hope this story was clear and easy to follow. If you enjoyed it, tell me in the comments where in the world you are watching from. I love to read your messages. And if you want more true stories, told slowly in simple English, then stay with me, because history is full of dark and beautiful tales, and together we are only just beginning.